to the intro. It should be in about a few moments time. Just waiting for another few people to get themselves into the stream, and then we'll get started as soon as we can. Looking to be a pretty good race tonight, and I certainly can't wait to see how we get on for the first race of the new game. That one? This one. Copy the link. I'll go onto Discord to share the stream. Let's go. Yes, hyped. We're back, boys and ladies, and anyone else. We're very inclusive here in APPF1. Welcome everyone. Maybe I lost again on chat. There it is. Who we got in? We're getting loads of people in. Welcome, welcome everyone. It's a pleasure, absolute pleasure to have you. I'm sure you're just as hyped to get the first round of races underway. Of course, we've had the 5 lappers going around and things like that for the new game, but the first proper give it everything race on APPF1, which is going to be interesting to see where people stand, I feel. Shouldn't be too long now anyway. We've got Corey in as well. Hopefully we can get on the way pretty soon, because I certainly cannot wait to get going. First bit of commentary as well on the new game for me. So yeah. We got nearly a full grid tonight as well. That is stellar. Let's go. I'm looking forward to this one. New game, 6... Nah. Definitely not. Nowhere near 6 safety cars. Early thoughts. It's tough. It's different. It's interesting. It is. I honestly, I think this is the best one they've released since ever. The cars sound good. It's more. I mean, I can't say I'm speaking from experience, but I'm guessing it's more realistic with the curbs and everything like that. It just feels better all round. And of course, it's a big learning curve, but yeah, I think it can be very good, and I think it is going to mix it up a little bit in terms of the pecking order for today. So yeah, I certainly can't wait to get going, because looks to be something pretty special. First race, new game. Let's see how we get on. I think Ted wants to get going, to be honest. We'll see. We'll see. I don't rate any league higher than any other. AP is an incredible league overall. Very welcoming community, very untoxic, very helpful, very just welcoming, warm atmosphere. Very helpful, very supportive and encouraging. So yeah, can't really complain at all. And of course you've got other leagues which have strengths, some have weaknesses, whatever. So yeah, no, this league is amazing, as is most leagues. Can't really say much bad about most leagues that actually run half decently these days, because they are hard to come by. So just got to appreciate them for what they are. Yeah, I'm glad everyone's in, and make sure to leave a like. We are getting underway very soon, so I will say hello and welcome everybody, and I am pleased to say that after a long and grueling wait, we are back, ladies and gentlemen, on the all-new Formula 1 2021 game. APPF1 has returned for the first official race of the new game. Now, while it's only pre-season, it's a great opportunity to test the limits of the car and find out who stands where in the pecking order of the seasons to follow. We have returning veterans, we have champions, and we have new drivers desperate to prove themselves amongst the highest ranks. And what a track to start the new game on. After a dramatic real-life Grand Prix, APPF1 takes to the stage here in Silverstone, a fast, flowing, and incredible circuit that is a favourite amongst the drivers, and a track that has brought incredible moments in the past. Remember the Sprint Championship, Season 2, where Ethan held off the reigning champion for God knows how many laps to claim his maiden victory. Certainly good times here in Silverstone, and here's to making some more today. As always, it is myself, Zach Sweeney, bringing you all the action for today's race. We're jumping in now to a short qualifying session, followed by a 13 lap race here in Silverstone. 25% 13 lap race, I should say. My apologies, but yeah. Short qualifying here in Silverstone. It is such a nice track to hook up in quali. It just flows so well, and if you hit every apex, it is just so satisfying. And we've got the next 18 minutes or so to bless ourselves with that. Of course, with the new drivers in as well. Where's Ollie at? Don't know where Ollie is. Go ask him. Certainly. But yeah, well, let's have a look where everyone is on the first game, on the first race of the new game, because I'm sure we're going to see some surprises. I'm sure we're going to see some shaking up grids. I'm just in the dark as everyone else is in this one. Of course, I've raced against a few of these guys on 5 lappers and what have you, so yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I'm loving the new tyre graphics and the commentary graphics as well. I can't lie, they are pretty good. As we have got the first cars heading out onto track now, and unfortunately it's giving me a lovely audio glitch where you can only hear the turbo swell up, but yeah, I'm sure we can go past that and instead listen to the amazing sound of the helicopter in the background. We've got a lot of new drivers on the grid tonight, and it's going to be very interesting to see where everyone stacks up. Pommer, Alex, we've got Emiliano, we've got Fishtech, Zuba, BGR, we've got quite a few people, Jackalacco as well, making his debut tonight. So yeah, they shown some promising paces from what I've seen. But nonetheless, it's going to be yeah, something I think that is going to be pretty good to watch out. We're going to go on board with Alex for his first lap of the day. What are my predictions? Honestly, I don't know, and everyone, there's been a lot of people that have taken some steps forward. There's been so many unknowns. Of course, Alex could be some alien for all we know. He could be someone who's at the back. We don't know. So we're going to ride on board with him for his first lap of Silverstone. A very tough circuit to tame on the new Formula 1 game, but he's crossed the line and he is starting his first lap here in qualifying through Abbey, completely flat out, and then again through turn 2, completely flat out. Want to run it a little bit tighter than that into turn 3, brake at the start of the curb, down to third gear, roll it through on the brakes, and then into the loop. Try and open up as much as you can, brake when you're pretty much in a straight line, second gear, try and maximise the exit as best you can, as you can hear the turbo swell up and give them that extra power down the Wellington straight. Down the gears as quick as you can, into fourth gear, roll it through, hit a late-ish apex to set you up nicely for Luffield. A lot of drivers take a nice V shape, go in deep, cut back in, get a good exit, but he's kept it tight, and then through Woodcote and up towards Copse. A very tricky corner on this game. There's a sort of an awkward bump in the middle of the corner, which really unsettles the car, but I think Alex has managed to get through relatively cleanly. Coming into Magnussen Beckett's flat, but a bit of a caution if I think from Alex. It is very scary, and then into Chapel, just got to chuck it in, and then on to the hanger straight towards Stowe. He is absolutely flying. Purple to the middle sector for his first lap, looking for the 50 board just after at the start of the curb, down 2 gears, maybe one if you're brave, runs a little bit wide, hasn't validated his lap, and he is going to back off and then cutting across the grass into the pit lane. Doesn't know where to go, does Alex, but interesting to say the least. Who we got on a lap? We got Sonic on a lap on the mediums. Let's see what he can do in the Alpine. Lovely livery on the Alpine, and it's nice to see where we're going. Ace, Ted, Sonic. Nice prediction. That is an interesting one to say the least. I think we've got a few people now starting their first lap. We've got MX first to set the pace, 26.4. Fishtech coming in 27.8. So some pretty good times on show at the moment. I would say the pole lap is going to be somewhere in the 25s. Ted into P2, 27.1. So at the moment, you've got at least one right. Let's see what Sonic can do across the line. Palfs goes quickest, 26.3. And Sonic across the line is P4, but on the medium tyre, goes settling in with a 43.6. I don't think that's very representative of his actual pace. We've got Davila putting himself into the pit lane. Emiliano, I believe this is him maybe setting himself up for a lap. The other Alpine, and of course a debutee of today, so we'll stay on board with him in qualifying. 13 minutes left of the session, and let's see what he can do on these soft compound tyres. Open up Abbey, chuck it in, very nicely done, and he has spun it around. Has he kept it out the wall? No, he hasn't, and he's out of qualifying. So that's going to be a bit awkward. That is a little bit awkward. That's a little bit embarrassing. He's going to be right at the back of the grid. He's going to join our first retiree of BGR Echo, which is definitely a shame. Ace is a man tipped for pole position in the Mercedes going through Copse, and this time they've managed to get through cleanly, haven't Mercedes? Heading towards Magnussen Beckett's flat, and then just a bit of a caution lift down to 7th, and he hasn't validated through there. Very easy to do, just get on the curb a little bit too much. But as it stands, very, very close grid. Just a shame I can't do much about the audio, which I do apologise. Best I can do probably is to turn it down a little bit, which I probably will do, in fact. And just turn the master volume down one. Just so it's a little bit less annoying maybe, until we get the actual engine noises back. Sumo was out on a lap time. There's Ghost putting in a more representative lap time of his true pace. Goes P2, only 1,000th of a second behind Palfs though, who is in the Aston Martin. The Alfa Romeo currently in P2, so very close at the front. absolutely. You couldn't ask for much closer than that, could you? You'd have to go into the next measurement of time down, because at the moment they're only 1 millisecond apart, are these two. So yeah, Palf's coming into the new game punching. Of course, Ghost isn't a bad driver by any means, by any stretch of the imagination. He's of course Season 1 sprint champion, very proven amongst drivers, and very highly respected at that. Of course, our stat man as well, providing the amazing stats, helped me along in the season finale. I've been watching Palf's practice all week, but how have the spins been? That is the question we need to ask ourselves. Who else have we got out on a lap? We've got Giacolacco out on a lap in the Ferrari, just about to start his lap. On the soft compound tyre, Giacolacco, someone I've raced with myself and has been in the 5-lapper lobbies. A very quick, very competent driver, but let's see how he fares around at Silverstone in the Ferrari for today's pre-season race. Through turn 1 and 2, looks pretty neat and tidy. Keep it to the left-hand side. How late can he brake? Third gear, roll it through. Don't want to touch that curb on the inside. Very easy to do, but you don't want to do it. Curbs on this game are absolutely ruthless. Not many spins. Wow. So Palf's doing incredibly well, and still provisional pole. We've got yellow flags through sector 2. I think that's just one of the Red Bulls backing off. Max, in fact, who's coming into this season punching as well. I've seen him putting some good competitive lap times. I believe that was Zuba putting himself into P5, another debutee today, and it looks as though the debutees are doing really well. It must be said. Heading up towards Cobbs. It sounds as if it's idling, but it's really not, and Giacolacco did not take Cobbs very favourably, having to downshift mid-corner, whether that was on purpose or having to correct a mistake, I'm not too sure. But he's chucking it through Maggots Beckett, and Chapel DRS open as he heads back down to the Welling Hangar straight. I mean, it's not far off, the small child. But it's tonight that House will qualify in the top 3, spin in the race, but still finish on the podium. We'll have to wait and see as Giacolacco rounds the Vale chicane through Club. Flat out for Club if you can get it right across the line. It's P9, so an 8.9 for Ferrari at the moment, but I'm sure he's going to want to improve upon that as we are halfway through now our qualifying session. Incredibly close at the front, but it is Palf that still does lead the way. In terms of race strategy, of course, if you are new, the top 10 do have to start on the tyre that they set their fastest lap in qualifying on. This isn't full qualifying. This is effectively Q2 and Q3 mashed together, effectively just with an entire grid. So the top 10 have to start the race on their qualifying tyre, as I believe was that Aces improving a little bit on his time or starting a lap, and he's already invalidated somehow. Zuba moving out of the way. Davila getting himself into P5. Not a bad effort from Davila. Of course, a very quick driver, has been a championship contender many times. Ted, of course, sprint champion for season number 2 in the Red Bull. Took a very dominant display ahead of his teammate Vardy. Very bang on with his predictions. Well, let's see how well he does in terms of predictions today. MX as well, another quick driver, someone who, well, has the confidence in himself, compares himself and others to the likes of Vardy, says that they aren't unbeatable, and he can certainly do so. Currently sits 3rd, so perhaps he knows what he's talking about. Less than a 10th off pole position, less than a 10th in fact, or less than 0.011 of a second cover the top 4. And just under half a 10th separate the top 5, so it is incredibly close at the front, and marginal fractions of a blink of an eye can propel you up the grid. If you looked at these guys' laps side by side, they'd look virtually identical, but they're not. But MX is on a very good lap here. You can see purple to the middle sector and 2 tenths up on his previous lap time in the Williams, chucking it through Stowe. Of course, the Williams was very good at Silverstone in qualifying in real life at the hands of George Russell, making it to Q3. Let's see what MX can do. Can he replicate some sort of that success? Of course, equal performance cars, but still nice to see what he can do. MX now across the line does go fastest, but only by half a 10th. A 26.344 for him. I believe this is now Palf setting up his lap. No, it's not. So I don't think he's really bothered about going for another lap, or he might be taking a second installation lap, whatever it might be. But certainly A very enthralling qualifying session so far. We've got Ted looking to get himself into the mix. But at the moment it's MX from Palvs, Ghost and Ted lock out the second row, with Davler and Zuba rounding off the top 6. Aces, Sonic, Alex and Wumax are then rounding off the top 10. Who we got on a lap? We got Sumo on a lap. He's right behind Sonic in the Williams, currently P14 with a 28.3. I'm sure that's not representative of his pace at all. Sumo is definitely a quick driver. Has never, I believe, started on pole position properly. And has not in fact won many races, but hopefully he can put an end to that today. And maybe put an end to his unlucky streak as he negotiates through Magnussen Beckett's, and didn't even realise, but he had invalidated his time and was in fact a second and a half up on his previous best. And probably more to find through the final sector, Stowe and Vale. But that's a shame for Sumo. He needs to find a little bit more in himself. Surely got to be beating the 1:25.4s. I mean, they could, but Silverstone it's looked a lot slower on this game compared to previous. But we'll have a wait and see, because yeah, we've still got quite a while left of qualifying left to go. There is Ghost nearly putting himself into the 25s. 26.2 for him at the moment. Does go purple, and by probably the biggest margin we've seen so far, with a 26.239, just over a tenth quicker than MX. As Matt House calls himself, wants to go for maybe one more run in this qualifying session. And the top 6 man of Sonic rounding left field. See what Jackalaka can do. Still unable to, in fact, improve upon his best time. And it's very hard to tell when people are actually on laps, because I can't hear their engine. So it just looks as though they've always backed off. But I have to look at the telemetry, and they are going flat out. Jackalaka certainly is going flat out. Currently P12. About 1.5 seconds off pole position as it stands. Let's see if he can improve. Dogs, are they new the squeaky door? Yes, they are. They very much are the new squeaky door, and they are so annoying. But yeah, what can we say? Not much we can do. Just needs to shut up, really. But the squeaky door is still here. Very much is still here. It's not going anywhere. To interrupt the streams, as always, as the good old times. Jackalaka though. Magnussen Beckett's an incredible sequence of corners. You have to be fully committed through here, and the G-Force real life drivers would be pulling. Is he up on his time? 3, nearly 4 tenths up is Jackalaka. As it stands, that might just about get him into the top 10. But I think he's finding life a little bit tricky out there today. Let's see what he can do in the final sector. Maybe more time on the table for him through here. Chucking it through. Negotiates well very, very nicely. Runs up the curb. Straight lines club as much as he can. And that is into the top 10. But only by 3/1000ths of a second. So definitely not a lot in it at all. And as I've missed, we've had Ted get himself onto the front row. So both Alphas have gone from the second row to the front row. So the front row has pretty much swapped with the second row. So yeah, very interesting to say the least. 3 minutes left of qualifying, with MX in now heading out onto his out lap. We've got Ted out on track. I don't think he's got enough time to get back and back out again, but I'm not too sure. The dog's name, Toto and Christian probably are, or Christian and Cyril. One of the two, definitely. Is this Ted starting another lap time? No, I don't think it is. We've got MX going through Woodcut. Davila out on a lap. He needs to try and get higher up and match his teammate at the very least. And down to the first sector, not going to help with that at all. But Brooklyn's very, very hooked up and tidy there. Bringing it through left field, as you can see, taking that very V-shaped type line, but couldn't quite get it bit back in for the second apex. Could Davila, so had to settle with running a little bit too wide, coming towards Cops. Let's see how he takes this. Turn pretty much at the 50 board and just be fully committed, but put a little bit too little steering angle in. Try not to unsettle the car, and you run the risk of running out wide, and that is going to be another invalidation. Palf's out on his outlap. MX now about to start his lap. Probably his final lap of the session. Ghost now looking to extend his lead at the front. MX now starting. Let's see what he can do in the Williams. Did hold provisional pole for quite a while, coming towards Abbey, chucking it in, use the curb on the entry to open up the angle of the corner, helps you take it flat out that little bit better and just minimises the steering angle you need to put in into Village. Very nicely done towards the loop, braking a straight line, second gear, take a nice late apex, don't let the car run out too wide, and then into Aintree, DRS wide open, that drag reduction system extra, around about 20 kph or so, as he hurdles it down towards Brooklands, just under a tenth up, and purple to the first sector is the Williams, very nicely through Brooklands and then into Luffield, taking that V-shaped line, run it wide, bite it back in, and then get the power down, fourth gear, fifth gear, sixth, and then through Woodcote. Want to just run as short as line as you possibly can, run it back out to the left-hand side of the track for Cops, turn at the 50, be completely planted as best you can. It is very easy to unsettle the car, but he negotiates it very, very well. As our top four all out on track. Aces in P5, Davila P6. They could be outside shots if they find a little bit more time. Through Chapel comes MX. How well has he done to the middle sector? He's about half a tenth up at the moment. That's going to put him on the front row, but he needs to find a little bit more in this final sector. Give it everything through Stone. Nothing to lose now. It's going to be pole or nothing for the Williams. Chucks it through, runs a little bit wide, carries the speed. He hasn't validated on his final run, but he's got the time to go for another if he's got the fuel. But I don't think he's got the energy, so we're going to ride on board with Paus as he hurdles towards the end of the final first sector. 3/10 down, really made shambles of that, so I think Paus's pole chances are out. But I mean, if he can find maybe a little bit more time, the time that could have extended him all the way, he needs to find, well, probably about 5/10 on the final sector, final two sectors I should say, to actually have a chance at pole. But he's definitely shown promise, and the points are scored in the race. Of course, no points scored today, and he hasn't validated through Cops, unfortunately. What can Ghost do? I'm sure he's feeling pretty secure. But to the final corner anyway, that is the checker flag out. Full qualifying through Vale, goes a little bit wide, doesn't hit as best of a first apex as you really ideally want. Across the line, does he extend his pole position time? Yes, he does, almost into the 25 range, but just under half a tenth up on his previous best. His ace is improving, about 6 thousandths down in the delta time. Cuts Woodcote very, very nicely. In fact, MX has retired, so has Scott. Scott had a very poor qualifying session, so I don't think he's really bothered about setting any competitive lap times. But what can Aces do? These old tyres are extremely old. And going to be pretty worn. He has to start the race on these tyres as well. Remember, has found a little bit more time to the first sector, running it all the way to the left-hand side of the track. Really trying to open up Stowe as best he can. Look for the 50. Down a couple of gears, just chuck it in. You need to be flat out a little bit sooner than that, but use the track on the exit. There's Scott's car nicely tucked out of the way into Vale. That was very nice. Third gear, roll it through on the brakes, and through the second part into Club, flat out. Does he improve his time and his position? He is down and stays in 7th place, and that is a wrap for qualifying, and what a close qualifying it was. But that is a wrap for the first qualifying session for APPF1 on the new game, and it is the Season 1 champion of Ghost who takes pole ahead of his teammate in Alfa Romeo 1-2 with Ted in P2, MX in P3 with Paus P4, Sumo P5 with Sonic P6, Aces vs Kings in P7, Davila in P8 with Rumax and Zuba rounding off the top 10, Jack Lacko P11 with Alex in P12, Fishtech in P13, Max 14th, QB 15th, Emiliano in 16th, and Scott and Echo both with no time will start on the back row of the grid today. The debutees not having the best of runs, it must be said, but let's see what they can do in the race. 13 laps of Silverstone ahead of us. Should be a pretty straightforward soft to medium strategy. And it is going to be pretty close, pretty tight. DRS is going to play a massive factor. The third run by pushing too hard at Cops. That is a shame. That is a very, very big shame. But your P4, you've got a long race ahead of you. You've definitely got the pace, so just don't spin it and you'll be perfectly fine. So already the little one is wrong with its prediction in terms of Power's not getting into the top 3 in qualifying, but he can still spin and get on the podium to complete the rest of the prediction. Ideally, he won't spin and finish on the podium. That is probably the best way to go about things. But still, we go green for the formation lap right about now. 13 laps ahead of us, or 14 if you do count the formation lap. And we have got engine audio. Look at that. That is amazing. What a lovely music to our ears. Aaron was extremely close with his prediction. But they finally managed to get themselves going at the back of the grid. It's a very short run towards Abbey. But the first sector at Silverstone on the first lap is something that is very, 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 very tough. Very close, of course. You're going into a flat-out corner, 20 cars all into a flat-out corner, 2 flat-out corners, and then into a heavy braking zone, and then a very tight sequence where you go onto the loop and then through entry and onto the hangar straight. So it's gonna be very, very, very close. Yeah, Scott Jones for the driver of the day, exactly. He knows what he's doing. Of course, reigning sprint champion is Scott. He knows what he's doing in these short races. It's 25%. This is his home ground. He knows what he's doing. Of course, recent champion as well. You're only as good as your last result. And in front of the home crowd as well. He's been signing a lot of autographs this weekend. And he's going to be wanting to put a show on for everyone. He's in a British car, British driver, British crowd. See what Scott can do from the back of the grid. See what Ghost can do. See what Ted can do. It's a champion front row. We've still got MX, a man who's trying to prove what he can do. He's shown the pace, he's shown the potential, but the results don't quite show. We've got Paus, a man on redemption. Stella on the pad, swapped to the wheel a few months ago. Took a massive dip in performance and confidence, but since then has been on an absolute charge back to the top. And has been really consistent with his qualifying. And the new game is just what a way to start the new game as well. Now he's doing, you can see everyone warming up the tyres. Get ready to go. The entire grid starting on those red-walled soft tyres. So they're all going to be even Stevens as Ted goes for a lovely little spin. Warming up the tyres, lovely. Cutting the grass a little bit as well. Resets the track. And yeah, that's not the greatest way to start the race. Going on to the lineup. But I think he is just about okay. Ghost now lining up. He's not joined by Ted, he's joined by MX, who Scott has sold more merch than Lando. That is a fact. That isn't even disputed. That is Scott has sold a lot more merch than Lando. As Ted does manage to finesse his way back into the front row after his cheeky spin. 13 laps ahead of us. The grid's lined up. APPF1 is back for the new game. And this is going to be the first race pre-season. Where does everyone line up in the pecking order? We've had a very close qualifying. We're waiting for that green flag. We're waiting for those 5 red lights here in Silverstone. Green flag is waved. You get ready for the 5 red lights to illuminate your screen anytime now. Here we go. 1 light, 2 light, 3 light, 4, 5 red lights ahead of the pre-season and the first race of 2021. MX has had a drive-through penalty. He's jump-started, but we are underway and racing. It's a great start for the pole sitter of Ghost coming towards turn 1. He's managed to hold his position coming through, but Ted is going to be absolutely relentless. I think Ted, Palvis has managed to get himself up a position or maintained his position or something as everyone tries to come through into turn 3. Side by side goes the Mercedes. There's debris everywhere. 3 abreast they go. Into the loop goes Aces, Wumax and Jackalacco. I think one of them is going to have to concede, and indeed they do concede, and that is a great cutback from Davila to get both of them, all 3 of them, as he heads down the Wellington straight. So Davila up 3 positions pretty much for free after that, and the Ferrari of Jackalacco coming back at his teammate 3 abreast nearly again as they come into Brooklands. But I think everyone has kept it nice, neat and tidy. I don't think Scott has gotten off to the best of starts, just trying to be patient. Pommy Alex up a couple of positions as well. Virtual safety car has been brought out. So VSC out. There's probably debris on the track. That's what I'm going to guess. As MX, that was. What? How do you jumpstart that soon? Is what I'm questioning. But nonetheless, a very, very cheeky start. Very, very interesting to say the least. VSC, so they have to adhere to a 40% race speed delta. They have to slow down, keep the grid where it is. But Ted, look how close he is to Ghost. He's going to be putting the pressure on. Palfson an effective P3. He's looking good, but he's got Sumo and Sonic both right behind him. As I'm hoping we can go green very soon. As MX does need to serve his penalty under green flag conditions, so he can't come in under the VSC and lose less time. Needs to be under full course green. I'm hoping we can go back to green flag, and I think we are back under green flag. No, it's not. It's Vish Techman with a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, and I'm sure a lot of people are now heading their way into the pit lane. Aces, Fish Tech, Echo, and Emiliano. Not the best debut for Emiliano, it must be said, which is a shame. We're still under VSC, which is an uncharacteristically long VSC, it must be said. Hopefully we can get back under green flags very soon, and we are back under green flags, and we are racing once again, and there's a great restart from Ghost, already trying to pull that gap away from Ted. But Pals needs to try and crawl his way onto the back of Ted. Of course, an effective podium for the Aston Martin after MX's penalty, but still a long way in this race to go. Needs to keep himself composed, needs to keep himself calm, try and monitor the amount of ERS he's using. He's got that Williams breathing down his neck of Sumo. All over the back of him. Sumo is going to want to get himself on this podium and maybe even chase after the race win if he possibly can. Ted falling a little bit off his teammate, getting a little bit back through Chapel, but overall very, very close. I think the two Red Bulls are going very, very, very close through Magnus and Beckett, and as the tower attempts to sort itself out, but I think it is still very, very close at the front. Sumo trying to close in a little bit on Paus as best he can, at least. As Paus has already used up his maximum deploy of this lap, but it is closing on Ted, who is in fact closing on Ghost as MX sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, quickly beaten by Ghost, who's coming in to this lap absolutely fine. Womax with a 33.4, so again a good lap from the Ferrari. I'm still waiting for the timing to sort itself out. QB fastest now, so it is all coming down very quickly. Scott 32.5. Guessing someone else is going to set the fastest lap anytime soon. See if we can fix the timeline, but I don't think we can. Which is a little bit weird. And a shame because we could be missing a lot of action, such as the two Ferraris going very, very close with each other. Jackalacco and Womax extremely close on track. Jackalacco seems to be the quickest car. They've got Alex breathing down their neck so far, and trying to finesse his way into P8. There's Jackalacco looking to the inside of Cops. He is going to send it up the inside, but I think he's going to do the wise thing and back out of that one. So Womax around the outside keeps him there as Emiliano is into the pit lane again, or is spun coming out of club? I think he has spun coming out of club, so not the best way to go about things at all. It is much better, much quicker to keep it facing the right way. Alex can't quite stay with the two Ferraris. DRS is enabled as we are on to lap 3 of this Grand Prix. And at the front they are as close as ever. See how they are getting on. Oh, they are incredibly, incredibly close. Paus is going to want to get involved. MX into the pit lane to serve that penalty. So this is now for the race lead. Paus fastest 27.7 and has been on an absolute charge this lap. Needs to save a little bit of ERS as Ghost is just chilling at the front. He's let Ted waste his energy. He's let Paus waste his energy. Sumo a little bit further back. So this is going to be the fight for the win. This is the podium sitters at the moment. They are very, very close together, and that is Paus going for a spin, coming off the loop, and that is him just falling down the order from P3. A very, very easy mistake to do, but we can't miss the action at the front. Ted is still coming at him. Sonic up the inside of Sumo. Sumo trying to push him out to the outside. Here comes Sonic back up the inside. Sumo still on the outside through left field. He's going to push him all the way, but Sumo's just got the drive off to keep that podium place just about. The Alpine still on the inside as they head up towards Cops. Is he going to be just alongside? No, he's not. So Sumo's going to hang on, inherit that P3 from Paus. And I can't say I wasn't expecting it, but I think we all were. Virtual safety car again being brought out in this Grand Prix, as that was very close to Sumo's rear end from Sonic, nearly slicing off his front wing. But VSC being brought out once again. Still very close at the front between Ghost and Ted. This gives Ted a nice chance to just regain his battery, regain a little bit of composure. It's been a hectic recent couple of laps, but that is a shame for Paus. He rejoined in P10. Yeah, Paus had loads of dirty air there. It's a very easy mistake to do, especially at one of the highest traction zones of the circuit. There's not many, but that is probably one of the best ones. There's a lot of people who are using this opportunity to come into the pit lane under VSC. Of course, everyone's going slower, so it's sort of like this, a similar advantage you get under safety car. Not quite to that extent, but definitely does go a long way. So they're all going to be coming in for their medium tyre stop. It'd be a little bit silly if they didn't go onto anything other than mediums. Or if they did go onto anything other than mediums, I should say. Yeah, medium's very comfortable to the end of the race, and they're taking a lovely opportunity here. You're going to lose a lot less time, Sumo and Sonic. They just need to maximise not battling. That is going to be the crucial thing. It's going to be not to battle each other. As we are back under green flag, and Sumo has picked himself up a drive-through penalty, and I think so is Sonic, because they both have penalties next to their name, which is a big shame for them too. So it's all going wrong for those at the front. Ghost has had an incredible restart, 1.6 ahead of Ted as they rejoin the green flags. I'm sure Ted is going to want to get himself back into the mix. Alex on the back of Jackalacco. These guys yet to pit. The entirety of the bottom half of the grid has come in to the pit lane and should be very comfortable to the end of this race. But here he goes, Pommy Alex. He's got DRS, he's got overtaken, he's got a bundle load of overspeed coming towards Stowe. Going to look to the inside of Jackalacco, gets the move done, but the Ferrari looking around the outside, just going to run out of space to do so. I think he's going to come right back at him into the Vale, but the McLaren hangs on for the time being. P4 for the McLaren, comfortably done. I think that's a move that's been long awaited as they come down the Hamilton straight. Pouse into the pit lane 1 lap later after the VSC. And going on to the medium tyres for the final half of this race. Lap 6 of 13. Jackalacco still putting the pressure on. He's going to have DRS back down the Wellington straight. Fish Tech Man with a 3-second penalty. A bit of a wobble from Alex, but well held. Jackalacco practically pushing him now through entry, and is going to just soar past with DRS and overtake. Gets ahead before the corner is even started. Pulls himself back onto the racing line. So Alex's hard work has been all undone right here. The McLaren, these guys very, very equal on pace. So they are going to be trying their best. We're going to flash through sector 2. Could be, I think it's MX. Is that MX off? Not too sure who that is. I think it's Emiliano. Oh no, we saw someone in the gravel. It is Sumo, who resets the track. Wow, that is a shame for Sumo. He's bottled it once again, but Alex now on at the back of Jackalacco, and he is gaining a lot in slipstream and in DRS. Pulls to the outside of Stowe once again. It's going to be outside this time. The Ferrari just tries to fight him on the inside, but again couldn't quite hang on. Yeah, definitely did. Really, really awkward as Jackalacco picks himself up a 3-second time penalty. These guys staying out very long, but it is Ted that launches the undercut, and Davila that comes in with him. Jackalacco as well coming in to the pit lane, so Ghost stays out another lap. VSC definitely caught out a lot of drivers. Some of the people we may have tipped to be at the front, especially Emiliano. Another penalty for the Alpine. Certainly is a shame. Ghost leads the way ahead of Alex, and QB found himself on the podium place in the Haas. How long that's going to last, of course, he still has yet to pit. Womax comes out in P4 and ahead of Ted. So the VSC has played absolute wonders in this race for Womax in the Ferrari, who at the moment I believe is in a net P2 position. If Ted... Wow, Ted needs to get through very quickly. He needs to get those tyres warmed up, and he needs to get through as quick as he can, because Womax has absolutely finessed these guys on those mediums, put in some stellar lap times, and is going to be charging after, maybe even the race win if he can. Yellows through sector 1. I think that may be Sumo off again through Abbey, and yeah, not the best day at all for Sumo, it must be said. Alex has retired from the session. Well, that's going to be a full-blown safety car, and this has really played well for QB and Ghost, because they're going to get free pit stops. Effectively, Ghost speeding in the pit lane though, the race leader. This is just an action-filled race, not necessarily in terms of on-track wheel-to-wheel action, but in terms of the drama, the penalties that the front lot are showing. I think that could actually put QB into a race-winning position. In the Haas, Womax finds himself P3. QB coming into the pit lane as well. It's going to be a free pit stop for QB. Because of the safety car, everyone's having to go slowly. He might just about come out ahead of these guys, but I'm not entirely sure who's going to come into the pit. They could go softs. I would say if you're, I don't know, go for softs maybe if you've got the gap. You've got there's surely some point where you've got nothing to lose, and I think QB is going to fall down a little bit the order, but But still definitely going to be higher up than he was, and going to be on nice fresh tyres to use. Jackalacco back up into 5th. So Ghost re-inherits the race lead. It's Rumax in P2, Ted P3. I think the safety car has really allowed Pavs to be brought back into contention. So could well still find himself on the podium. QB comes out in 8th, 9th. I think he has spun in the pit lane. Is he facing the wrong way? I can't actually see him. I think he is facing the wrong way. QB. Let's see what happens to Scott and co. Has he managed to get himself going yet? I think QB's stuck. I actually think QB is stuck. And has been disqualified from the session for blocking the pit lane. It just couldn't... That looked so promising for QB. He could have had such a good run in this final stint. And I think Fishtackers and Sonic and Aces have all gone for the softs, as well as Scott are pitting again for the softs, because they've done their mandatory tyre change. They can go back onto the softs for the remainder of this race, so they wish. So yeah, certainly an interesting one. Let's see how the remainder of this race plays out. Rumax sandwiched between the two Alfa Romeos. Davila in the Aston waiting there. Jackalacco sandwiched between the two Aston Martins. It's Ghost, Rumax, Ted, Davila, Jackalacco, Paus, Max, MX, Zuba and Sumo were your top 10. Sumo somehow still in the top 10. How, I do not know. But he is. He got stuck. Yeah, that is a shame, QB. We were all rooting for you. Hopefully the safety car can pull his way in at some point in the near future. Maybe for the start of, I'd say, 2 laps or so now, because Emiliano is very, very far back. Actually, no, he's not. Fair enough to him. I think he's just settled in laps, but I think it is Fish Tech we're waiting for at the back of the grid. There's so many blue icons this game. It's pretty... It's very different. Yeah, we've got a nice long colourful worm circling the grid. But yeah, I'm excited to see how the rest of this race plans out, because Ghost has looked very, very comfortable for this entire race. He's really not been put under much pressure. Got a good start, and that's true, you are in the Haas, so... And that's exactly where Grosjean spun last year, don't forget. So, yeah. There's that. Ghost, of course, remember, with a 5-second penalty. So, Rumax could be looking good here. So could Ted. Davila as well is very, very good in these later stages of the race. And QB, you were looking so good. I'm genuinely gutted for you. The first race of the new game, and it's such a shame to have it ended like that. But it happens. It's racing. But you can always come back stronger. You look very, very quick in those 5 lappers. So head up. We move. Max is looking very good in the points as well. He's somehow found his way up this high. And Max, a very, very good racer. Potentially not there when it comes to pure pace, but he can race. He knows his way around a car, to defend from a car. He knows he can get himself those positions if he wishes, and at the very least hang on to P7 for the remainder of these 4 laps or so that we've got left. So Max, incredibly good. Paus, when he's in his zone, when he's honed in, when he's got that instinct, he absolutely flies. Do not mess with Paus when he's on his game. Safety car in this lap, so Ghost does become the effective safety car. He controls the pace at the front. You can see backing everyone up, weaving around, getting that last bit of temperature in the tyres. Exactly, got to spin to win. You'll get there, QB. Ghost weaving around, backing everyone up, warming the tyres up, trying to get that last little bit of friction. And he's got between when the safety car light turns off, which should be around about now as the safety car is into the pit lane. He's got between now and the timing line to go. The final 4 laps of this Grand Prix. When is Ghost going to punch it? He's punched out of the final corner, and we're back under green flag racing. It's a great restart from Ghost now as they head on to the Hamilton straight. Ted is all over the back of Rumax in the Ferrari heading towards Abbey. Can he maybe go for it? Not much kicking off at the backside. I think MX is looking to get past Max. Ted looking to get past Rumax, who's just about hanging on, but a perfect restart from Ghost as Emiliano picks himself up a 3-second time penalty. Ted needs a good launch. Sonic with a 3-second penalty as well. Is it kicking off at the back? I don't think so. Everyone a little bit spaced out. I think Zuba has managed to get himself up the inside of Sumo, who's tumbling down the order now and has lost a lot of places and is now having to settle for P12. Up the grid, Max under pressure from MX, looking around the outside. MX manages to place the car so perfectly and is now going to be hunting after the top 6 of Palfs and Jackalacco and using that pace he had. And I think Max's best bet is to maybe just hang on for this P8 and hope Sonic and Scott having a bit of a tussle as well. Echo trying to come back at Scott. The AlphaTauri looking to the inside of Cox, but I don't think that is going to be the wisest decision. We'll go back on board with Ted because he is extremely close to the back of Max, and Davila looking to get involved as well. They're coming back on to the hangar straight, and he's tucked up nicely in the slipstream. He's not got DRS just yet, but he's got overtake and he's got slipstream. That should be enough. He's closing after the Ferrari. Is he going to be quite close enough in to the braking zone of Cops? I don't think just enough. He picked himself up a 3-second time penalty though for multiple warnings. Ghost could be looking very, very comfortable here. Wumax, again, a lot of pressure alleviated off his shoulders, but a lot more pressure planted on Ted. It's going from bad to worse for the front runners as Ghost sets the fastest lap off the restart. He's absolutely pushing. That gap is nearly 2 seconds already. Only needs 3 more and he'll seal the deal at the front. I don't think Ted and Wumax's best interest is to fight, because if they fight, they're going to lose time. I think Ted isn't too bothered about that. I think he wants to get himself as high up the order as he possibly can. Yellow flash reset to 3. I believe that is Emiliano at the backside. See what Ted can do. Not quite able to close on this particular occasion. We'll go on board with Aces because he's all over the back of the Red Bull. Look, you can see the Red Bull go to the middle of the track, trying to defend, plants it nicely. Aces around the outside though. What a move from the Mercedes. Just brakes as late as he can, carries that speed all the way through the corner of Brooklands and just soars around the outside. What a move from him. But I think MX has had a bit of a tussle. Paus gets himself up the inside of Jackalacco. Jackalacco is going to come right back at him though, maybe into Maggots and Beckett's around the outside. Not the wisest move to make, but it's a racetrack. You can race where you like. Jackalacco having to cut the majority of that corner there. Yeah, in fact, still through sector 2, and I think that is Zuba maybe a little bit embarrassed from that move by Aces, because that was stellar. From him. Ted looking to the inside of Wumax as well. It's all kicking off all at once into Stowe. Ted gets himself into P2 down the inside, but can Wumax maybe come back at him? He's going to have DRS from this next lap onto the penultimate lap. But Davila wants that podium. He wants that podium as much as anyone. So does Paus. He's really driven up to the back of his teammate. DRS now enabled and is game on for the top 5, maybe even top 6. Max is now back in front of MX. He's got himself back into the top 7 very nicely, keeping it consistent. Paus, yeah, needs to start pushing. He's got enough ERS, I'd say. Yellow flash through sector 1. Something's happened. I think that's Emiliano pulling off just to let everyone through, or has had a spin, or something's happened. Something's kicked off. But Wumax is going to have DRS. Can he potentially come back at Ted, who still isn't in the safe zone? And at this rate won't even overtake his teammate on penalties either, because he's not within 2 seconds. So it's all kicking off at once. There's so much action. We go the entire race with practically nothing, and it's all kicking off at once. Here in Silverstone, the penultimate lap, we've got around about a lap and a half left, and it's game on for the podium. Ghost from Ted, Wumax, Davila and Paus to your top 5. It's an Alpha 1-2, but they both have penalties. Still all to play for today. Scott not had the comeback drive we'd all have hoped, but we've still got a Brit leading the way, and I think Ghost, no way is Ghost off. Ghost is off, and it's going from bad to worse for the race leaders. It's just salt in the wound at this point. He's come off of Maggots and Beckett's and Chapel. What a way to end the race, and he's with a lap and a half to go. He's been faultless all race, but I guess that's the price you pay. He was pushing way too hard, trying to open up the gap, and it was all or nothing from him, I think. Ghost plummeting down the order. That is a shame. He's been faultless all race long. And right at the wire, coming onto the final lap, it's Ted that leads from Wumax, Davila and Paus. They are very, very close. Paus wants that podium to start off the new game. It is still very close at the backside. I think Scott and Sumo are going to have a little bit of a tussle. It's a 4-car train here for P10. Sumo heading the way, leading the way for this train. I think Ghost wants to maybe get himself back into the points. Who knows? We'll see. Is anyone going to have a go at the front into Brooklands? I don't think so. So we'll go back on board with Ghost. He gets a bit of a snaky slide coming off the loop. It's going to be DRS wide open, but I think it's only really going to count for Scott as he's charging after Sumo, now pulling to the inside of Brooklands. Looks up the inside, but doesn't quite manage to go for it. That's going to invite the AlphaTauri to have a little bit of a look. Those soft tyres really not working for the McLaren. The AlphaTauri looking up the inside of Scott, who goes a little bit wide. but I don't think he's under too much threat. Ghost wants to try and find a way through. Maybe P11 at best is his best shot. I think Palps wants to go for it. Here's the AlphaTauri looking to the inside of Cops. I think everyone's learning their lesson from the recent events in real life. But at the front, we are now coming on to the final DRS straight of the race. It's Ted from Wumax, Davila and Palps. They are very, very close. Can Wumax launch an attack? He doesn't need to. He will win the race so long as he stays within 3 seconds through these final corners. He's out of DRS. I think it may be Ted coming off the podium. He will cross the line as race winner of the first race pre-season here in Silverstone. He crosses the line, the winner, but after penalties it's going to be Wumax that takes the victory ahead of Davila and Palps, who makes it a double Aston Martin podium. Max across the line in P5 with Aces in P6, Jackalacco P7, MX in 8th, Sonic in P9 across the road, but with penalties it's going to be Scott that gets himself into the points. And a very, very hectic final last couple of laps there. Extremely, extremely hectic. Well-deserved win for Wumax, who played the safety car to perfection and just did what he needed to. Didn't take any risks. And after a mistake, a very uncharacteristic mistake from Ghost. Yeah, saw him plummet down the order. So Wumax takes the victory ahead of Davila and Palps in P3. Ted took the on-track victory, but in the end, it was only good enough for P4. Max with a career best finish of P5 with Aces in P6. Jackalacco P7, MX P9 with Scott and Sonic rounding off the top 10. Ghost, a faultless drive up until that penultimate lap of lap number 12. And the Alfa Romeo finds himself in P11. Sumo P12 with Fishtech in P13. Echo P14. Zuba P15. Emiliano in P16. Alex P17. QB in P18. And that rounds off the first race of APPF1 on F1 2021. Palps was a spin and a podium. The only thing that didn't happen, in fact, was the fact that he didn't get top 3 in qualifying, which I'm actually surprised about. He looked very, very good for a top 3 in qualifying. But overall, an incredible race, and I think Ghost is going to be heartbroken. But yeah, certainly interesting to see where the new guys stack up in terms of everyone. And I did think that would have been the case for Ghost. 2-year-old predicted Palps. They know what they're talking about. They must know what they're talking about. Yeah, an incredible, incredible race overall, and a great start to the new game. And I hope it only gets better from there. We've seen the new guys, we've seen where the pace lines up, especially at Silverstone. But we'll have to wait and see what the future holds. I've been Zach Sweeney. This has been APPF1, and I hope you have enjoyed. If you have, definitely think to leave a like, share the comms around. It does help a lot. And well, I can't wait for the season to come in just a few weeks' time. So stay tuned, ladies and gents, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.